Hypercar Mountain.
Hi, this is Larry Hatch for Hypercar Mountain, and this is our second in the series of new treasures from Hypercar Mountain, a new sub-series that's going to combine review of the 164 diecast car and some historical notes on the real car. And I think collecting the diecast cars is more interesting if you know the significance or lack of thereof, or the importance or the history in general and the context of models of the real car. So we're going to spend a little time when necessary talking about the real car if they're not, that widely known. So our first car today is a legendary Porsche 911, actually turbo 930 to be precise, and it's by the company RUF, which goes by RUF, and it's kind of like the AMG or Brabus to Mercedes, or the M series to BMW. Although they cooperate with Porsche, but they're not. I don't think they're not as close or in-house as AMG is with Mercedes, but they've been around for quite a while. And this is the famous RUF CTR Yellowbird. And these were really, really expensive custom cars back in the day. If you know anything about Porsche collectors, the RUFs were like kind of the pinnacle. In fact, when this car came out in '87, it was basically $250,000. So in the 80s, spending $250,000 on a Porsche instead of a Ferrari, well, yeah, that you had to be pretty much of a die-hard Porsche lover to do that. Now they're very rare, and you'll probably, they tell me there's not a lot of them around. They only made 29 originals, and they're not all in yellow. There's some in green and other colors. But a lot of them were this bright yellow to stand out, and they were given the nickname Yellowbirds by Road and Track magazine when they did a review. Because I don't know why they didn't call them yellow whales, because they have a whale tail. But anyway, Yellowbird stuck, but it's technically known as the RUF CTR, which stands for Group C Turbo RUF. And like I said, they made 29 originals. However, if you already had a 911 with a 3.2 flat six, they would convert it for you. And we think they converted somewhere between 25 and 30 customers' cars. So when you add that to the build from scratch, it's probably going to be less. It's definitely less than 60 cars exist. So kind of interesting. Some of the changes they made were obviously in the horsepower department. It had lightened body panels, including polyurethane, sorry, in the bumpers to lighten the weight. They used a side-mounted oil filter. They had upgraded suspension, integrated roll bar, so you could track this car pretty well. And guess what? They're bringing it out again in, I think it's 2022, and they're going to be $1 million to $1.2 million again, which is fitting with the original price point, I guess. And it started off with the 1987 Carreras. And I'm sorry, I misspoke. These are not 930s. They started out using the 3.2 Carrera, not the 930. And they did that because they wanted to save a little weight, and they were going to modify a lot of stuff anyway. So starting with a base car kind of meant more sense. They had to bore out the cylinders and increase the displacement to 3.4 liters. And they used a fuel injection system that was in the 962 race car, and then they put twin turbochargers and twin intercoolers on it. We think most of them made around 463 horsepower, but it's believed that some were even higher. Again, when you got a total production under 60 cars, and half of them were from the customer's own car. You know, they did a little specking around on that. It had a 5-speed manual transmission instead of the 4-speed of the 930, and RUF actually put in a new transmission with custom gear ratios, and their fancy wheels and some better tires, so they really upgraded it quite a bit. I heard that the original pricing was about $143, but I was told that the average cost was about $220. So again, you had to be a pretty much serious Porsche collector to go into that kind of price range, considering what else you could get in the 80s. But these are very rare cars, so if you did make that investment, your car is probably quadrupled in value, if not more. And by the way, it weighed only 1150 kilograms, and was known in some of the versions, again they're all a little different, to 0 to 60 in 3.65 seconds, hitting 210 miles an hour. So in the 80s, to have a car that would do 3.6, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. The Porsche 959 was faster to 60, but the Yellowbird had a higher top speed at 213, and Road and Track named it the world's fastest production car. Again, that's the significance of it. And I don't know why I didn't have one of these in my collection before. This particular model is made by Paragon. And again, guys, get the Paragons. They got BMWs and Audis and Mercedes and Porsches that are just fantastic machines. Just absolutely. And this thing came mounted on a platform with a chrome label, like those really expensive diecast cars, and it was only $16. So hey, grab one of these suckers. Again, Road and Track, who named it the Yellowbird, their time was 4.0 seconds to 60, but you know, you could do 3.65 in some of the cars. Let's see, its quarter mile time was 11.7, top speed of 211, 213, and their famous editor, Paul Ferrari, I never pronounced it right, said it was the fastest car he had driven at the time in '87. So that April '87 Road and Track kind of put this car as the king of the hill, and other people have raced these cars, comparing them to some AMGs, Ferrari F40s and stuff, and yeah, Automotor und Sport took them to the Nardo Ring, and it was faster than a Ferrari F40 and AMG 6.0, and they did 215 miles an hour with it. If you go to Wikipedia and some of the Porsche sites, you'll see some of the other stellar things this car did, and it's even beat or equaled an Enzo, Ferrari Enzo, at times, and an SLR McLaren in some of the stats. So this car is a lot. And if you're a video game aficionado, you've probably seen this, because it's in a lot of those things. Let's see. And I should say that while the original cars were based on the Carrera instead of the Turbo, starting in '96, they were using the 993 generation cars as the basis. But again, probably less than 60 of these exist, so they're extremely rare. The new car, which was announced at the 87th Geneva show in 2017, is relaunching it. They're using carbon fiber, of course, instead of polyurethane. That would be a good choice. and it's kind of designed to look like a very cool race car. It's got a 3.6 twin turbo flat six, and it's going to make 700 horsepower and do about 3.5 seconds and 224 miles an hour with a 6-speed manual gearbox. So look for the new one. It's going to have that retro whale tail. Yeah, so it's really going to look like the originals, and they said they're only going to make 50 of them. So you got about 60 of the original, 50 of the new. This is a great car, and again, in diecast form. God, I have over 120 diecast Porsches, and this thing just glows in my collection. It's just freaking amazing. I'm getting long-winded here again. Sorry, guys. I'm not going to talk about all the cars because they're familiar in real life. I just want to talk about my newest Corvette C8s. And I know a lot of you guys are collecting the C8s. I think I've got 43 different ones now, if you include all the wheel swaps and customs. But you know, some of you guys probably have a lot more than that. But the two that I want to point out here on the left is the Hot Wheels Treasure Hunt, which I just got this past week, and I had to pay a couple of bucks for it. I think it was $36, but no, $45 with shipping. But some of them are going into the 60s. You know how treasure hunts go. They can either go up or way down or way up or both. And yeah, so I figured I really, I'm collecting everything in the C8. Not maybe every color, but at least a good representation. And this is a classic. This car is much better built than the regular Hot Wheels, except maybe the IQ. It's got a beautiful blue lacquered paint, which is nice. And the front fascia, headlamps, and the tail lamps are beautifully painted in multiple colors. There is no license plate on it. The interior is the same basic dull kind of thing. But the real highlight here is the wheels. It has these kind of gray 5-spoke wheels. They're not rubberized, real rider type wheels. I wish they were. But it's much of an improvement, and it's a really beautiful car. The other one here is the Maisto, and those are nice cars, and sometimes they make stuff that nobody else makes, especially concept cars. I like collecting concept cars, and they do a lot of stuff that nobody's ever produced. This car is nice. It's got a little bit of crude detail on it. The wheels are kind of cheap and springy, but again, it's another addition to the collection, so I'm not gonna, kick it out of bed, so to speak. It's there, and so it's nice to have a couple of new accessions. And I think in last week's video I talked about the Matchbox Super Chase, which probably a lot of you Corvette collectors already have. So I'm going to take a quick pause here, prepare for the next part. Our next car is a Tomica production, and I really like these Tomica Ferraris, but the one thing I really hate about them is they don't have the model name on the chassis. Now they do say Ferrari on the body, so obviously they've licensed the name, but why don't they have, like the Tributo? It doesn't say Tributo. This Roma doesn't say Roma. What's the deal with that? So, Ferraris can be really tricky, so it's sometimes tough for me to know which car I'm looking at, unless I pick it up and examine it carefully. Because like the 488 and the F8 Tributo look a lot alike, except for the front nose with a air duct. So you got to learn these little tips when you got these Tomicas. But anyway, the Ferrari Roma is one of the most beautiful Ferraris ever made, at least in terms of the Grand Touring front engine cars. Ferrari's always made these cars that don't look like Ferraris. They call them the GT line or the front engine line, or sometimes the 2+2 line, because they do have a small back seat for children. Anyway, So this is the Roma is the latest in their Ferrari for non-Ferrari lovers, and it's designed for really to take on the Aston Martin kind of audience. And frankly, it's a better looking car than an Aston Martin, most of them anyway. It's definitely better looking than a Jaguar, but you know, it's kind of in that GT 2+2, kind of market niche. It's got a 3.9 twin turbo, making 612 horsepower, and again, that's gonna blow away most of your Jaguars and other GT cars. It's got an 8-speed Magna dual clutch, so it's really up there. They started making them in 2020. I've never seen one in real life yet, but probably will. I hope so. And obviously, Roma is named for Rome, Italy, their capital, and but they're saying it's more connected to the Roma name in mythology, but you know, whatever. It is based on the Portofino, which was a turbocharged V8, and it's got some elements and parts from the F8 Tributo as well. So it's really, you know, these GT 2+2 Ferraris are it used to be called the gentleman's Ferraris. I saw one at a fancy restaurant one time, and I was like, that doesn't look like a Ferrari, it's blue. And it looks like a Jaguar. But, you know, I had to learn at the time, yeah, not all Ferraris look like, you know, Testarossas and, you know, Magnum PI. There's a lot more to it with their front engine cars. Anyway, this car was a real hit when it came out. It's got this really interesting kind of wraparound rear end. It actually reminds me a little bit of an Aston Martin or a Porsche 928 for that matter. And it's a beautiful aerodynamic car. The front end has got this kind of almost perforated looking grille. It's not really perforated, but it's kind of a different look to it. And not everybody's going to see it is going to, you know, think of it as a Ferrari look. People have said that it has some Stradale in it, some 250 GTO, a little super fast. You know, it's got some style and elements of some of the other cars. And so anyway, but it's designed to attract somebody who doesn't want a, you know, a track-focused Ferrari. Somebody who wants a really good daily driver, you know, with, you know, and it's got like touch. It's got an 8.4 touch screen in the center, that kind of thing. Controls the HVAC, so it's kind of an evolution in Ferrari's approach to attract a different kind of owner, and that's kind of probably a good thing for them. Anyway, let's see. Try to get some more details of it. It's gotten a lot of awards for its design, and you can read about those if you want. It is a very beautiful car, and like I say, if you have Aston Martin kind of money, you'd probably want to look at this car and give that a look. Let me try to get some more information as to the real-world pricing on this. Again, it's a 3.9 twin turbo, making about 610 horsepower. Let's see, and Car and Driver says, you know, Ferrari's trying to kind of take back the GT market, 2+2 market, 2+2 coupe market, and this is their take on that. They're saying your alternatives are actually probably a Bentley Continental GT in that price range. But to me, it looks like some of the rarer, expensive Aston Martins. Let's see. The 8-speed dual clutch transmission is similar to the one on the SF90 Stradale, which is a far more expensive car. This is a really beautiful car. I'm trying to get a price on it here. Jeez, does anybody know? I thought I had the details lined up. Oh yeah, this is the other thing I wanted. 0 to 60 is 3.1 seconds. Yeah, that's going to embarrass most GT type cars. Top speed is 199, and the quarter mile is 11 seconds even. Let's see if the last thing I want to get you is the price. How much are they worth? Oh, they start at about 218, but you know how Ferraris go. They're probably going to be 220, 240 by the time you got all the custom stuff in there. But again, it's a great car, and people are actually calling it an entry-level Ferrari. Yeah, 610 horsepower, entry level. Yeah, right. But again, it's designed to appeal to somebody who wants like an Aston Martin, basically, or a Jaguar, but they want Ferrari speed, quality, and exclusivity. Not a bad niche to go into. Okay, I see one car was reviewed here that was 250 and another one was 300. So yeah, you know, entry level. Maybe it'll be your first Ferrari, but entry level, not on my budget. Anyway, so before I get even more long-winded, let me continue to our next two cars, and these are our last two cars. I've been collecting Porsches for a long time, and of course when the Taycan, the Tesla S-Killer came out, I had to grab those. So I got the Hot Wheels, did some wheel swaps on it. Now we have some of the others. The one on the left here is the Mini GT, which is very well made. It's heavy too. It's heavy, beautifully made, like any Mini GT car is. And it's got these little wheel inserts that match the body color. In this case, sky blue. There's also a white version with those white inserts. Really beautiful car. And the one on the right is a Maisto. And the wheels aren't too bad. They're a little cheap and springy, but look at that color on that thing. And that, by the way, that is a real color on the Porsche Taycan. And God, I think I'm getting old and senile here. I forgot to write down I intended to write down the name. Mamba Green Metallic, it's called. So the real car does come in this color. I know some of you are fans of Shmee 150. He had his car wrapped in a beautiful dark forest green, which I think looks even better. But if you want something kind of weird and yet pretty, the real car does come in Mamba Green Metallic, which is kind of interesting. And by the way, a couple of weeks ago, a whistleblower inside the Porsche organization came out and said they have more problems with these cars than they're admitting. There's been 3 recalls already, but he says that 60% of the cars have real problems, mostly with battery charging. And he said 360 cars have caught on fire, everything from small fires to devastating fires. You know, Tesla was getting a bad rap for cars getting on fire, but I don't think they hit 360 cars. So Porsche is kind of being closed-mouthed on all their problems. 360 cars caught on fire, and these suckers start at 120. Yeah, that's a problem. So as for this thing being a Tesla S-Killer, yeah, not quite yet. Oh, and by the way, it does come in kind of a, what should I call it, a state wagon. Basically either a crossover or a station wagon version called a Turismo. I don't believe they're for sale yet, but that also comes in Mamba Green and looks pretty darn good. I was going to say one more word about the Mini GTs. There are some chase versions of these. And like I say, the regular editions are the sky blue and the white. They're really available for, I don't know, $12 to $20. There is a red one out now. I haven't gotten that. I probably won't. That one literally just came out, the red one. The chase cars are basically, there's two variants of that. They're kind of in unpainted chrome, like a lot of the Mini GT chase cars are, and you have a choice of either a brushed silver wheel or a very pretty light blue wheel. So you can get, I guess the chase version of the white car has a white wheel, and the chase version of the blue car has a blue wheel, if that makes any sense. And as I'm on eBay here this January 1st, 2022, they are going for about $75. Oh, here we go. Mini GT has a yellow version. Okay, so the Mini GT is mostly, so far, been in the first two editions, the sky blue and the white, but you can also get the red and now the yellow. Seems like you got to get the yellow from Japan, as it turns out. There is a rarer version of the Mini GT that I saw that somebody from Hong Kong is selling. It's a shell car. I guess it looks like it's a Hong Kong exclusive, and it's got a black roof, red and yellow and white body paint, too ugly for me to buy. It has a number 21 on the side and the Shell Oil Company badge. So, and that one is going to run you about $45 to $38. So that's another one to collect if you're so inclined. I think for now I'm going to stick with the Mini. Oh wow, somebody is selling this Shell one for $78. Holy heck. So yeah, shop around, you know, with these things. Don't buy from the first vendor. And again, pay attention to shipping costs. If you're on eBay, you can sort by price, and that'll include the shipping price. Because, you know, somebody will be like, this car's only $12. Oh my God, but the shipping is $36. Yeah, so you got to figure that out, add that all in. And again, my last word is look for the Paragon cars, like the RUF Porsche. I think those will really make your day.
Hypercar Mountain.